Broads Media.
That's beautiful, baby. That's beautiful. Bring on the garbage piece of trash Mets. I can't wait to smack them around and send them packing. Hey, before we talk about this preview and this postseason series here, if you are new to the channel, hello, welcome on in. You can hit the subscribe button. We talk Philly sports every day here. And you can also take me on the road with you. All you got to do is go to your favorite podcasting platforms and search Sports Talk with Broads. If you leave a 5-star rating and a review, it will help out the algorithms. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And lastly, if you want more Broads Media content, you can join the community here on YouTube for $4.99 a month. You get 2 live streams a week. Coffee with Broads. That's 8 times a month. All the information is down below. I'm going to shut up, and you can all enjoy the show. I am going to say this right from the top of the show. If you are scared of the Mets, if you think the Phillies are going to lose this series, get the fuck off this show. Do not fucking listen to this show. You got to believe. Do not diminish who the Phillies are. Don't downplay their greatness. Don't downplay the fact that we got Zach Wheeler arrested and our team was chilling while the Mets went to war and had to tax a lot of their guys and put in a ton of energy. The Phils deserve to buy, gain the advantage, and they're going to take advantage of the advantage because they're a great baseball team. I was rooting for this. I thought it would be electric. And not only that, I have faith in the Phillies. I want to be the team to rip it out of the chest of those dumb, idiot Met fans. The ones who think this is different. The ones who think this isn't the same Mets anymore. We got a real president now. We got an owner. Yeah, but you forgot to mention you had the Phillies in your way. What I'm not going to do is pretend that because they had a record, they being the Phillies, after a certain point, you're not really putting stock into the hot run they had because it was so early in the season. Shut it! This is one of the best teams in the league. And there's no way in hell Bryce Harper, Zach Wheeler, Kyle Schwarber, the leaders who are hungry as hell, they are not going to let this division rival and their, quote, hot run be what stops them from making another serious push. Did you hear John Middleton today on WIP in tears explaining how important these playoff moments are? Did you hear Bryce discussing how ready to go he is? And what this time of the year means to them? I'm telling you, the scrappy little Mets will not beat the Phillies in the NLDS. They are going to be even more focused than if it was the Brewers because of all this silly narratives. Which, whatever, fine. But you're going to see. I can't wait till Saturday. It took me a little bit this week to get here. I had to filter through all the garbage of the Eagles. Good thing it's a bye week, so I can set aside all the stupidity in the NovaCare complex and focus on what really matters here, and that's Schwar bombs. That's 99 from the gun when it comes to Zach Wheeler throwing his heat. The adrenaline adds an extra bump to it. Everyone rising. How loud it's going to be. Man, I won't forget what it's like to be in that building over the last couple of years. The entire structure is shaking and it feels as if you're going to collapse. Phils will not lose in that environment. I'm telling you. I'm excited for the matchup. I'm confident in the matchup. A lot of decisions made by Rob, or will be made by Rob. That's going to be fascinating, but I'm so hype just in general, it's hard for my brain to even consume it. It sounds like Sanchez is going to be the number 2, so Nola is a good comfort, a good blanket on the road for the first game away from home. Sanchez's splits indicate he does significantly better when his own crowd is behind him, and this is the first time he's getting a real look at it. Last year, they had such a tiny leash on him. He didn't have the role that he has worked himself into this season. Now it's, go win us a game. You're backpacking Zach Wheeler. That's a take the ball and let's have at it. You got to be a spectacular dog out there today. It's a big spot for him. It's probably easier to transition him into a role like that when there's 40,000 on your side. And yes, I said 40,000. I'd be stunned if that place is covered in blue and orange like we've seen in some regular season games, and we bitch every time it happens. I can't believe we let that gross set of human beings in our town and in our park. And, that's what we pretty much discuss every regular season series. It is a disgrace. This is different, though. This is one of the best environments to play at in all of sports when it comes to their respected playoffs. We know that. We know the edge that it gives our team. We're not selling tickets to enough Mets fans where it makes a difference. No shot in hell. Come on, baby. Come on. There's too much pride. There's too much pride to lose to the Mets. On the line, I'm saying. And they know that. Pete Alonso is a stiff. Wait till you get a taste of when Bryce is locked in the playoffs. You don't have enough to compete with this, and their bullpen blows. Once you start getting into that pen and over a 5-game sample size, you're going to see that some of these offensive players are going to take advantage. Nick with a double, Bohm with a double, Bryce with a single, Steele second base, Trey before him walked. I'm telling you, the Mets will probably blow 2 saves in the series. Phils win big. Advantage Phils. Don't let your anxiety take away from what the players on the roster deserve. And that's our unconditional love for this run. There's standard anxiety allowed. It's a slow-moving sport. Every pitch matters. The details are so magnified, right? So I get it. If you're going to a commercial break, or if Rob Thompson comes out and points to the bullpen and you're getting somebody new up and, you're just starting to see the intricacies of the game slow down and you have to pace a little bit, fine. But just know, whatever you're worried about with the Phils, all these other teams go through something similar. Let me put it to you this way. If the Phillies won an important game, the way the Mets just did, I promise you, there'd be a lot of negative fans saying, that's great, but you can't sustain winning that way. Going quiet for 8 innings? Nobody gets a hit except for one person. Maybe in our eyes, it'll be Bryce Harper gets a couple of hits. That would be equivalent to what Francisco Lindor did. So you'd probably say you got lucky. You hit a home run late, and that's great. You survived. But you can't really win that way on a night-to-night basis. That's how you'd pick it apart if the Phillies were the team doing it. But if the Mets do it, they're scrappy. They never die. They never give up. Well, it can't be both. The Phillies may have some inconsistency with their offense. They may strike out at times. So do the Mets, and so do all the teams competing in the playoffs. I looked it up pretty recently. 16, 17, 18, 19, all those teams where the Phillies were located in regards to strikeouts this season, all the teams left fighting for a World Series. So if they do, quote, strike out a lot, so do all these other teams. And you might say, well, I don't care about these other teams, but I'm just telling you, how do you separate your striking out a lot or it's just the game? Because Zach Wheeler's going to strike out 9. When they strike out 9 times, do you look at the other team and say they have a strikeout problem? Or you go, wow, Zach Wheeler's an ace. Zach Wheeler's a star. Some of these strikeouts won't be strictly because their identity is a problem or they have a horrible approach at the plate. Some of it is just the nature of the flow of the game. And the other teams have a nature of the flow of the game just as much as the Phillies have a flow in the nature of the game. So once again, it goes back to this Phillies team has a significantly higher chance to win than some think. I'm just trying to prove to you reasons why it's silly to feel fear. And prior to even seeing the Mets win, there's been a lot of controversy about how you should root for the first round. Fellas, the wild card series is not the divisional series. That's great. You beat Milwaukee. Seriously, that's a good, solid win. Congratulations. You could tell what it meant to Pete Alonso, who's been getting ridiculed for his season and then also missed a fly ball in foul territory. Francisco Lindor, you can see how happy they are. They're happy for a reason. It's a cute little win for them. But now the real playoffs begin. That was essentially to get into the playoffs. Now, the big dogs are here. And because of the preparation and the idea and the philosophy of this week and the way the Phillies handled it, I'm not concerned about a slow start. I think they knew about the bye, had it on their checklist. Win the division, check. Get a bye, check. Prepare all week prior to your first playoff game, check. That was on the checklist. They didn't just skip to get a bye, okay, now let's go win a championship. It was, what do we do to put our team in the best position possible so there are no excuses? And they set themselves up for a spot where, of course, they can't use it as an excuse. They knew about it. They talked about what they were going to do to put them in the right positions. So, I don't doubt them for a second that they went through all the proper protocols to be ready for the first pitch. The Houston Astros were great 2 years, 3 years ago, whatever the hell it was, a few years back. No bye stopped them. If you're supposed to be the team, to be a champion, if you're supposed to be the best team, then that wouldn't stop you. You're not supposed to win the championship if that stopped you. The team that had to grind through how many pitchers, play 3 games, highly emotional games, draining games. If you can't match up against them while your rotation is set because of a couple of days, you're not championship material. You're not the caliber squad you thought you were. And that's where the veteran presence comes so large into this. We're not dealing with young cats. We're not dealing with, maybe a little bit less mature, immature. These are focused up, wired, big-time players. It's Bryce. It's Kyle. It's JT. It's Trey. I mean, this is a lethal group of men that know the seriousness of the moment. I don't believe they get overwhelmed by it. I think they're truly ready to accept it, and they're ready to pounce. I can't wait. I cannot wait. Someone in Milwaukee, just strictly because of their starting rotation and the fact that there's potentially an angle here of all right-handed starters. So then it gets Marsh out there, which you can argue if you're looking at the platoon outfield situation, lefty versus righty with Marsh and some of their starters, it's the best lineup you can have compared to maybe if there's a lefty on the mound and you have to sit Marsh and it's Austin Hayes and it's Rojas. Does that change maybe the max your lineup could be on that day until, of course, you have to go to the pen? What I don't think is going to happen this season is Rob Thompson wait and rest on what got him here. I don't know if Dave Dombrowski put a ton of pressure on him in the offseason because we know they self-assessed. They looked in the mirror and said, we just can't continue to run this thing back. We have to figure out certain ways to go about this. One was, let's really improve our chase rate because we are swinging at garbage that's so out of the zone, it's not even competitive. And I wonder if the Rojas, the Craig Kimbrell stuff, Rob, you got to be quicker on your toes. You got to be willing to adapt. You got to be one more at-bat ahead instead of waiting and trusting all of your guys. You got to get out in front of these mistakes sometimes. So will that be the difference in Rojas getting pinch hit for? And Dave also surrounded him with maybe more pieces to go to. Maybe feeling better about an Austin Hayes or feeling better about however you line things up if Brandon Marsh is the one off the bench. If it's the Cody Clemens of the world or somebody along that range. If it's Edmundo Sosa that gets plugged in and he ends up being an effective piece for you if Bryson Stott is struggling and there's a lefty on the mound. There's just more creativity you have, and whether that's because maybe Stott isn't as reliable, or Austin Hayes isn't as big of a impact at the deadline as you would have anticipated, then that results in having more bench options because they're naturally, bench players and platoon pieces instead of your full-on everyday starter, as Rob Thompson alluded to with Austin Hayes at the deadline. I don't know. But I am super excited. It's going to be tremendous. I feel Friday is going to take forever. We're recording this on Thursday night as the wild card game 3 literally just ended. And yeah, Friday's going to take forever. Saturday's probably going to take forever until 4 o'clock. But I love the 4 o'clock start. CBP is going to be on 1,000. Apparently, we're going to have sensational weather as well. So people are going to be buckled. They're going to be funneling all sorts of hard liquor. And they are going to be fucked up. And that place is going to be ridiculous. And I'm jealous as hell for everybody that will be attending the event. I'm going to watch it perfectly in my man cave where I've watched the last few playoff runs, and I'm actually reliving some of those moments. I remember when Bryce Harper had the swing of his life. I remember watching some of these big-time plays, and they'll stick with me forever. And sometimes when I watch, let's say, the 2022, which was the original run we had, and then you go to 23, sometimes when you're there, you're almost having deja vu. Like, oh, yeah, here the Phils are again, and they're about to explode again. And I remember being here before, and I'm doing it again. And this is magnificent, and I think we're probably going to experience more deja vu because your stars are going to come to play. And Zach isn't going to allow more than 2 earned runs. That's inevitable. It just comes down to, is it 6 innings? Is it 7 innings? Is it 8 innings? Is it shutout ball? Is it 1 earned run ball? I'm not necessarily sure, but I know he's going to dominate. And it's going to be delicious. All right, let's take some calls. Real quick, though, of course, my friends over at Garage Beer, no bitterness, beer that tastes like beer, definitely not an IPA. There's only one beer that's in my fridge when I open it, damn it. That's Garage Beer. Check out their information down below. Okay, let's run to the Anytime Hotline.
Hey, bros. Just finished watching End of Mets Brewers. Not gonna lie. I'm a bit scared.
Nope, done. Nope, next call. I'm not doing it. If you called in scared, I'm sorry. I love you. I appreciate your time. You know you're my favorite, but I'm not doing it. Not today. Not on a day where it's obvious we should be feeling fantastic. This is what it is. We should be all in. This is what it is. This is what sports are. If you're jumping out now, then I'm so disappointed in you. You got to ride. All right? It's not as if I'm asking you to ride when Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts are the ones in control. They're not the ones in the one we're watching here. If it's a team that's down bad and a team that stinks and a team that is a fraud, a bunch of frauds, then fine. Don't emotionally invest. But this is different. Look, if they end up failing, so be it. We have our heart broken. But this is the type of team, a division winner. I was done with the wild card stuff. I wanted to take a leap. I wanted to take a statement as a franchise. I want the target on our back, and that's what we now have. So they go out, they finally win a division for the first time since I was in high school, and now they're about to approach the most important time of the year, and people are backing out because they're scared of a New York Mets team? Ew! Ew! Doesn't that make you sick? Doesn't that truly hurt you down to your core? Oh, man. Oh, man, that hurts. It hurts. I'm sorry. It hurts me. It really does. I'm starting to shake.
I'm ready for the Mets, bros. I am ready for the Mets. And I've been wanting to face them, dude, in a playoff series. And I'm 30 years old, dude. I've been waiting a lifetime for this. Saturday, Wheeler on the mound. The 44,000 people on their feet screaming at Citizens Bank Park. Our biggest rival, dude. I'm ready for war, man. I can't wait. Let's go, Phillies.
That's right, Carmen. That's what I'm talking about. I want everybody to close their eyes, and I want you to visualize a world where Zach Wheeler is walking slowly and beautifully up to the mound. He's got the ball in his hands. He's looking around. There's red rally towels flying in the air, and he's throwing his warm-up pitches, just getting his arm rocking. And before you know it, here comes the first at-bat of the game. It takes three fucking pitches. 3 pitches. 2 of them are just getting stared at because they don't even know what to do. And then the third pitch, outside low, just a filthy off-speed pitch that gets chased. And you ring them up on 3 pitches to start the action. And that place cheers like it's a football crowd at the link. And that's what it's going to be like for 9 innings. When Rob Thompson said it was 4 hours of hell, he wasn't playing around. It was true, and it still stands true to this day. Trey's going to have a monster bomb somewhere along the way. Nick will continue the consistency. I'd bat Nick 4th. Some are thinking maybe you put him at 5. Maybe you asked Alec Boehm to be the cleanup and protect Bryce. What we can't have out of Boehm is when he starts pouting, because I do think that could be crushing and demoralizing. He's got to keep his head up high. If he's protecting Bryce, and if Trey and Bryce get on before him and he has an at-bat that bothers him, he can't start kicking his bat and dragging his feet and then slumping the shoulders. That's not going to cut it. But anyway, that's totally a different side combo. When Nick Castellanos is at the dish right now with the bat in his hands, I feel so good about him, and I feel so good about his ability to produce, and I would love for him to bat behind Bryce. I think that's the way you got to do it. I'd also go Nola too and just keep it very traditional. Now, I was working with Jack Fritz a little bit earlier today over at Chickies and Pete's for the Red October party. We had about an hour and a half show right before Thursday night football. And one of the things he mentioned is, methodically speaking, if you feel better about Aaron Nola going longer in a game than Christopher Sanchez, would it make sense to allow Sanchez to pitch at CBP, not just because his numbers are better and his splits are better, but when you feel that good about Nola, you can manage game 2 differently. You can use some of your bullpen and pitch more aggressively and be quicker on decisions because you feel comfortable with Nola maybe going 7 afterwards. It's a risk. It's a gamble, because if Nola can't, then maybe you're going super heavy and taxing your pen in games 2 and 3. I also look at what can be an answer in game 5 based off of whoever goes game 2. Also remember, though, you're going to have Wheeler game 5. And what are the odds that he's so tragic that you would have to rely upon one of your starters after him that already pitched in this series? It's probably a small percentage, but these are the level of details that matter at this time of the year. And Rob Thompson has to have a better postseason than what he's provided. He's been damn good, and he's been really strong. There's been a few legitimate gripes, though, that have changed potentially the trajectory of the postseason run and when it ended maybe a little early. More so in 23 than 22. I believe it was addressed. I do. I think they had hard, legit conversations behind closed doors when last season ended. And Dave is going to think about that 23 run the rest of his life. This eats them alive. Forget who they're playing. Forget who they're going up against. When it comes to themselves and knowing what they lost last year and that opportunity, they've been thinking about it over 162, and even in the offseason and even in spring training, it's been crushing them. Once they figured out the first 2 series of the regular season, Cincinnati and Atlanta, you could tell they were inspired to actually take command of this thing. And they did. Then there was a tight spot, but every team had a tight spot. Ours, we just remember more. And then they finished up better. They started to play better baseball towards the end. The one major concern is what you're going to do with your 4th starter, because Ranger, no way in hell, is going to automatically become 5, 6, 7 innings pitched Ranger. You'll be lucky to get 3 out of them without allowing 1 earned run on the board. But I love our 1, 2, and 3 so much that you're still in a really good spot. You were just at a bigger advantage when Ranger Suarez was elite. Okay, back to the phones.
Yo, Broads. Adam, been listening to you for a while. First time calling. Just saw the Mets win. Everyone's all scared. Been listening to Jack Fritz on WIP all week, and he's freaking out. My uncle is a diehard Mets fan, which is over tonight. And I was talking shit to him all day, and of course they came back and won. But we just got to stay confident, you know. We're gonna be all right. Play our game. Yes, they just like the Phils, like we were a couple years back. But if we do our thing, that's it. We pitch well, we can win this thing. You know, just gotta stay positive and kick their fucking ass. Let's go.
That's right.
Let's go, Phils.
That's got to be brutal, though. Thank you for the call. To have the family member that's rooting for the New York Mets. That's a shame you got to experience that, and he's probably screaming in your face. And I know for a damn fact, when they were down 2-0 due to the back-to-back bombs, they left some meat on the bones. But you go up 2-0 in a game that's essentially no offensive production whatsoever, and you start to say, the Mets are metting. The Mets are going to collapse. The Mets thought it was different, and it wasn't. It ended up not being. They are scrappy. And if you want to say they're in a similar position as the Phillies were, yes and no. I'll put it to you this way. Winning a series in the first round does not automatically mean you are this hot team. The Mets are a good team. Good teams make the playoffs. Every team that wins in the first round, are they technically automatically hot when you see them in the NLDS? The Phils, they got hot a few years ago. No one thought they'd win in St. Louis. No one thought they could beat the Braves. There's also teams that win the first round and then lose to a team that won more regular season games and a team that's more well-rested. So you're right. There are examples of both. And we live in this world of reality right now where there's confusion with this new format, which throws the chaos into the loop. And I acknowledge that. But you can't just put all of your marbles in on, well, we've seen the Phillies get hot, so why can't the Mets do it against us? I've also seen the Astros take care of business. Who's to say the Phillies can't be the Astros? Here's what I'm irritated about. I feel I've spent majority of my time, not just today, but over the last 72 hours, and probably even 24 more hours leading into the game. I've spent way too much of my own time fighting civil wars with Phillies fans about how excited you should be, instead of just actually being excited. So they are robbing me of heading into this full steam with obnoxiousness. And I could ignore them. I could. But with my occupation, that's not how it works. I get a post of the fan base. I give my opinion, and I also react to the posts of the fan base. And some of you are putting a damper on my playoff run. I don't like it. So there's that. Let's go to Sean.
Didn't you just know in your heart of hearts, Hunter, that it was going to come down to the Phillies versus the Mets? I mean, I had no doubt that the Mets were going to win this game and play the Phillies in this series. It's just the sun, the moon, and the stars aligned to make it happen. My thoughts, look, personally speaking, I could care less. A lot of people's thoughts are that it's over for the Phillies. The Mets are the team of destiny, et cetera, et cetera. And maybe that's true. I don't know. But my thing is, you know what? If you are the best, you should be able to handle whoever comes at you. I mean, you have them in your stadium. We know that their obnoxious fans are going to show up in droves. You know the best way to shut them up? Beat them on the damn field. Don't, wallow up like a flower and not show up. Kick their damn ass. Send their fans to the exits by like the 4th or 5th inning. I don't care who the Phillies play, where they play, or when they play. If you are the true best team in baseball, if you're the top dog, if you're the team that Middleton spent all the money on and Dombrowski believed in, you go out and kick their ass from inning 1 to inning 9 and all points in between.
I couldn't agree more, Sean, and that's perfectly said, and I feel very similar about it. If this team is what I expect them to be, and there's no reason for me to think that they can't be a World Series type of team. Look, they have lost in the NLCS and lost to an Arizona team that you shouldn't lose to. They lost to a team that was better than them in 22 in Game 6 of the World Series. So yes, from a nitpicking level, they haven't been able to win it yet. So why would you feel so confidently saying it now? Because it's very simple. Look at this. The Houston Astros were going to the ALCS how many years in a row? They didn't win 7, 8, 9 straight World Series. You crack at the door. You keep going. You keep going. You keep going. The more and more swings you get, you're going to get into one. This group is so damn talented. They are so damn lethal. They've been through the growing process of the postseason and have more knowledge now on this time of the year. That matters. You don't think that played a role with Houston in the World Series? It does matter. Having the understanding, while it's not impossible to win when you get there, it's, stuff happens. Knowing what it's like to be there is putting you a step ahead. They've been in these high-pressured situations before. Some of them they failed. Doesn't mean they're always going to fail when they're there. You go back to the drawing board. You realize what you were doing wrong then. What made you chase? What did you incorporate throughout the offseason and all regular season so your mechanics take over? You don't chase as badly in those high-pressured spots. And maybe the offense wakes up a tad more when it's the 9th inning, 8th inning, and you're having a slower day to get any positive offense going. And you finally do. It clicks. The chase rate's not bad. Rob Thompson's quicker on decision-making. This type of core deserves the respect. And I have so much belief that they're too good to not take real advantage of this opportunity. There's no big top, insane heavy team that's unbeatable. A lot of these squads are within range with them, and they're all in this same little pocket. That's when you got to strike. Because when there's that one team, they're the juggernaut, and they steamroll, and it's over in 5, and they just handle business each series. Well, you can't have it fall on that type of year. When everyone's similar, and you're all just edging each other out in a little different couple of areas within your roster, that's when you got to go. And I believe this team is going to go. All right, that's going to do it. Appreciate everybody. Thank you all so much for hanging out. I'll see you all on the next one. Go Phils.